What's up, everybody? This is another episode of the Reuben Show Sports Edition, I guess. Let's talk about the Super Bowl, right? So, the Super Bowl is happening today. I'm recording this the day of the Super Bowl. And let me give you my takes, right? I did some research. I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I watch all the sports commentators and they break all the analysis down. But let's talk about this, right? So, I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning 28-24. I think it's going to be a very good game, right? But let me kind of tell you how I think it's going to happen, and I'm going to tell you why, right? So I think that the first half of the game, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be ahead for halftime, right? And I'm going to tell you why. But the Eagles have the number one ranked defense. They have a 2,000-yard rusher, which, by the way, has never happened in a Super Bowl. You have a number one ranked defense with a 2,000-yard rusher in Saquon Barkley. That's never been done, right? That's kind of the uniqueness of it. And I think that at the beginning of the game, the Kansas City Chiefs don't necessarily, they have a game plan, but I think it's going to take the adjustments in the second half. So if the Philadelphia Eagles stick to what they're doing, they're going to be able to get out ahead and have a halftime lead. Then in the second half, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are good enough. They're coached good enough that they're going to be able to make the adjustments and overcome the number one ranked defense and slow down Saquon Barkley and win the game 28-24. And so another unique thing that's obvious that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go try to win a third Super Bowl in a row. It's never been done before. Very difficult task. And I don't think you want to give credit to Patrick Mahomes and an individual player. I think that credit has to lay on the organization, the ownership, the management, the coaching, a lot of consistency there, a lot of solid game plans. So I think that going to three Super Bowls is it's not so much about the players, but it's about the consistent nature of the organization and what they do there. So those are the kind of unique things of it, right? So let me tell you why I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be able to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. This thing kind of sticks out a lot to me, and I think that, and I've been writing notes and trying to figure out like what are the differences, like what are the extremes. Okay, so the Kansas City Chiefs, they have the number ninth ranked defense, very stout, very good, very consistent. They've won pretty much every game. They lost against the Bills in the last game, so they were 15-2. Really, they were 16-1, right? Because the last game, they had all their reserves in and stuff like that. They already locked up home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and so that wasn't really necessarily an issue. And so what I do notice that's a big deal here is the Philadelphia Eagles have the 29th ranked passing offense. Now that's a problem because that screams one-dimensional nature, one-dimensional offense, right? Now, here's the thing about the Eagles, right? You have, during the course of the regular season, the beginning of the season, all the attention was going towards the running back, which is Saquon Barkley, and he started racking up yards, and people started realizing that he can get to 2,000 yards, and he did. Right, and he did it in 16 games, by the way, where he didn't play the last game, which he could have broke the record, but that's neither here nor there. That was a decision made so that way they can make it to the Super Bowl, and it's paid off, right? Because if they did it, people would have been mad about that. But here it is. So the one-dimensional nature of an offense, because of the NFL's historical having a passing league, these offensive coordinators really don't have the philosophy, or they don't have the game plans that are balancing out this running attack. So the Philadelphia Eagles noticed they had something in Saquon Barkley, and they ran him like a workhorse, right? Run, 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 and it became one dimensional. And the quarterback Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown started complaining, and they did a little bit of like a revolt. Right? A little bit of revolt was going on with them. And it was just kind of weird that was actually happening, that the revolt was kind of uncalled for, but it's the fact that like AJ Brown is a top level receiver, and all these players are playing for the next contract, and you can't blame them, right? I mean, this is a business, it's entertainment. The NFL generates billions and billions of dollars, so they want their piece of the pie. So selfishly, AJ Brown was complaining that Saquon Barkley was pretty much getting all the attention while they were winning games, winning the division, so forth and so on. So there was that hiccup, right? The reason why I think the Chiefs are going to win is they don't have any of that that's going on in their organization. See, that's the organization talking right there, right? So the Philadelphia Eagles have a little bit of kind of infighting. And I think if the Eagles struggle at all, that's going to get exacerbated. That's going to be like a big thing. Nobody has talked about that because it's kind of childish, but if you think about it, it was an issue. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, they kind of they made all this stuff public, right? And so there was an issue where AJ Brown just wasn't happy with his production, right? He ended up only having 1,073 yards, which is average, which is good, still capable, but he wants to get the big contract, $15-20 million a year, and you got to go into the 15 to 17 to 1,800 yards in the season. There's some people that did that this year, and so he wants to get in that level, and Saquon Barkley's attention on offense, it was taken away from everything, and Jalen Hurts was kind of pedestrian at best this year. He's a really capable quarterback. He's a winning quarterback. However, the issue is he wasn't at his best this year, but it still got him to the Super Bowl because why? Because they have Saquon Barkley, this 2,000-yard rusher who, by the way, he explodes for runs. He's a very dynamic. He's very, very, very capable. So when we look at how you analyze this, you say to yourself, what is going to happen in the Super Bowl? The pressure's increased, the stakes are higher, like all that stuff, right? And people think that doesn't matter, but it does matter because it was a factor for them. So I don't know that I think the locker room is going to it's going to be a factor because, and I'm going to give you the parallel to this, and then I'm going to ask you what you guys think here. Is the parallel to this is when the Seattle Seahawks went to the Super Bowl, and we all know what happened with Marshawn Lynch, where he wanted to get that big contract and he wanted to be the one that won that big game, right? And so that is kind of an observation too. And they ended up not running the ball and ended up losing that Super Bowl. And it was a mistake across the board. Now, Marshawn Lynch has talked about this, but there's a little bit of that jealousy, right? There's a little bit of, I don't want to give this person credit. A lot of this too is that Jalen Hurts has been there for years and he wants to get credit. He wants to, and I get it, right? We have a competitive, people are competitive, but you don't see that in Kansas City. So that goes to organizational rhythms, organizational, standards, the way their integrity, the way that they run their system. And it's very clear on what the intentions are. Now, the issue I think is going to be the offensive and defensive coordinators. I think that's going to be I think this game is going to be determined not by the players, but just by play calling and strategy. I think we're going to see. And I think that the strategy is going to be difficult because I think that the strategies, they're going to be hard because you're going to have the personnel on the Philadelphia Eagles offense. It's kind of like, what are we doing here, right? Like, I want the ball too. Everybody wants the ball. And I think that they haven't established who's in control of the offense really. So I think Jalen Hurts is going to struggle. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have 150 yards. I don't know that it's going to be enough. I think if the Eagles want to win, Saquon Barkley has to have like 225 or 240 yards where it's overwhelming. If he has a pedestrian 120, 140 yards, I don't think it's going to be enough because the longer that you keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense, the better you are because they always find a way to produce. They have very, very, very cunning offensive play calling, and I think that's going to be the difference. The offensive coordinator is going to get real tricky with this, and the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which is very stout, ranked ninth in the NFL, right, is going to be able to literally shut down the 29th ranked passing offense that the Philadelphia Eagles have right now. That's why I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win. What do you think? It's going to be an interesting game for sure. And yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff like that. Let me know what you think.